ever feel like your phone is like speaking a whole different language? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love tech and everything, but sometimes it's like trying to get it to do the simplest things and it just, I don't know, like the other day, just trying to set a silent alarm, just for weekdays took me like forever. Why is it gotta be so complicated?
Totally. You'd think by now, with all the AI stuff happening, our phones would be, like, way easier to use.
Right. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to a wall. But, this research paper we're looking at today on MOBA, this is interesting. This might actually be the answer. I don't know. Maybe the future of phones is about to get a whole lot, smarter.
Yeah, MOBA. It's a game changer. It's basically a system that acts as your own personal phone agent, but, like, the really interesting thing is that it uses, have you heard of MLLMs, multimodal large language models?
I've heard of it.
It uses those to actually understand, like see and interpret what's on your screen, your phone screen.
Okay, so walk me through this MLLM thing. How's that different from just like using voice commands or, tapping on preset options?
So instead of just reacting to like specific commands, your phone can actually understand like the layout of your screen. So the buttons, the text, the whole thing. That's what MLLMs allow MOBA to do. It's like giving your phone like eyes, and a brain to actually understand what it's looking at.
Wow, that's kind of freaky, but also cool. So you're saying it's like teaching our phones to basically see and process like visual information the way we do?
Exactly.
I mean, the possibilities, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the paper, it talks about this two-level agent structure within MOBA. There's a global agent and a local agent, right?
Yeah, it's like a team.
Okay.
A dynamic duo.
Yeah.
So you have the global agent, it's like the strategist, the big picture guy. It takes your command, like book a train to Edinburgh for tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Breaks it down into smaller steps.
Okay, so it figures out the game plan.
Yeah, the plan.
Oh.
And then the local agent, that's where the magic happens. This is like the one that takes the global agent's plan and actually makes it happen on your screen. So it's interacting with the buttons, inputting text, navigating between apps, like all based on what the global agent told it to do.
So they work together like a team.
Seamlessly, yeah.
That's pretty amazing. So it's like this perfectly, what did you say, a synchronized dance between strategy and like actually making it happen, execution.
Yes.
That's why. Okay, but there's more to it, right? Because the paper also mentioned something about MOBA being able to like learn and adapt. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so there's this whole other like layer to MOBA that really makes it special. It's not just about like following instructions.
Sure,
like
yeah.
It understands, It can learn, it can adapt, and that's where this thing called the memory module comes in.
Okay, the memory module sounds intense, like something out of like a movie or something. What's so special about it?
Okay, so think of it like MOBA's like personal library of all its experiences, right? So every time it does something, every time it completes a task, the memory module stores information about it. Like what app did it use? What steps did it take? Even like your preferences.
Well, so next time you ask it to do something similar, it's not like starting over from scratch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It can use those past experiences, to just work faster and more accurately. But it gets even cooler.
Even cooler.
Well, but also has this thing called a reflection module. And this is where it gets really interesting because this is where it like analyzes how it did. It figures out what worked, what didn't work, how it can improve next time.
So it's like it's literally learning from its mistakes, just like we do.
Exactly. It's constantly evolving, getting better.
That's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. Like our phones learning from their mistakes. Okay, that's impressive.
Yeah, and this ability to learn and adapt, that's what makes it really different. And the researchers, they highlighted this in their case studies, and there's this one example where they had a user ask MOBA to set a like really complicated alarm. Like remember what we were talking about before?
Oh, yeah, I know the feeling, like specific time, days, maybe even a specific vibration pattern. I swear my current phone would probably just like explode.
Right. Well, MOBA, like, no problem. Took it in stride. And it started by, like we talked about, breaking it down into steps. Add new alarm, set hour, set minutes.
So even with something like that, that's got so many moving parts, it still uses that same like methodical step-by-step process, just like a person would.
Exactly, yeah. And so in this case study, what's really cool is that they actually had MOBA make a mistake.
Wait, really?
Yeah, like a small error, but still.
Yeah.
It messed up the repeat days.
Okay.
But here's the thing. It caught its own mistake.
Hold on, the phone, it realized it made a mistake and fixed it on its own. That's
the reflection module at work. It doesn't just blindly follow instructions. It's like it understands what you're trying to do. So it knew the user wanted a weekday alarm, right? And I was like, wait a minute, I messed that up. And I went back and fixed it.
That's a game changer. Seriously, it's not even just about completing the task. It's about understanding like the whole point, what you're actually trying to do.
Yes.
Okay. Color me impressed.
There's another one, another case study. And this one showed how MOBA can handle those really like vague requests, like the ones where you're just like, could you just do this thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So this time the user just said, help me check when I'll get to the travel destination tomorrow.
Okay, that's pretty vague. I can already picture my phone being like, what are you talking about? Like
Right.
throwing up its little digital hands in defeat. How did MOBA even process that?
So MOBA, it actually like went into the user's calendar, right?
Right.
And it saw the event for the trip and figured out like the destination and the date.
Oh, that's pretty smart.
Yeah. And then it went from the calendar app to the train booking app, found the relevant train, and was able to like tell the user when they'd arrive.
Wow, it jumped between apps
Yeah.
seamlessly.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It's like really starting to understand context, you know, like how all these different apps and pieces of information fit together.
Exactly. And that's really the goal, right? Making our phones work for us instead of the other way around.
Totally. Okay, so we've got this phone agent that can see what's on our screens, strategize how to do what we're asking, execute tasks, learn from its mistakes, even figure out our vague requests. I mean, this is amazing, right?
Right.
But are there like any limitation? I mean, it almost sounds too good to be true.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's still pretty new, this
Yeah.
technology.
Mhm.
And like, remember how we talked about the global agent and how it breaks everything down into steps? Well, if it gets those steps wrong, if it misunderstands what you want at that very beginning stage, it can throw the whole thing off.
Right, kind of like if you start following a recipe but you missed a key instruction at the beginning, the whole thing is going to be messed up.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing is, MOBA really relies on being able to like see and understand the way your phone screen is laid out, right? But what happens if like an app developer goes and changes how their app looks?
Ooh, yeah, good point. It's like trying to navigate a city after someone comes in and like rearranges all the streets and buildings overnight, right?
Yes. And I mean, MOBA's good at adapting, but those kind of big unexpected changes, they could definitely trip it up sometimes.
That makes sense. So it sounds like there's still like some kinks to work out, but I don't know, even with those limitations, this feels like a major step forward, you know?
Totally. It's showing us what's possible.
It's really exciting.
Yeah. And imagine like in the future when it's even better at like visual recognition, when it can really like see and understand all those subtle details on our screens.
And learn our habits, right? Like imagine your phone, it could remind you like, hey, pick up milk on your way home because it knows you're low and it's seen your commute route. Or it could like automatically get your favorite meditation app ready because it knows you've had like a super stressful day of meeting.
I know the possibilities are endless.
It's like having a personal assistant, but like one that lives in your phone and actually knows you really well. I don't know about you, but I am very ready for that future.
Me too, definitely.
This has been a fascinating deep dive. So, listeners, we want to hear from you. What really stood out to you today? What possibilities have got you thinking? Let us know. Until next time, stay curious.